Welcome in to another episode of Vikings Now. I'm Ahmad Hicks, joined by Pierre Newsroom. No Jim Rich, no Don Mitchell for us this week, but they'll be on deck for us.
They're very busy right now.
They're very busy working on other important stuff.
Yes.
And we cleared our schedule so we could talk about the Vikings. And another disappointing one-score loss to the Kansas City Chiefs. They fell earlier today, 27-20. Patrick Mahomes didn't look great today. Neither did Kirk Cousins in the offense.
Patrick Mahomes hasn't really looked all that great all season long, if we're being honest. I don't know if he's playing hurt or if he just I'm not going to go as far as say he's lost a step or two. Patrick Mahomes hasn't lost a step or two. He hasn't, that is not what's happened. But I wonder if he's playing hurt because he has not looked exactly sharp. I don't know if this team is bored. Is Kansas City bored maybe a little bit just to start the season out? I don't know.
I think so, man.
But
and you're getting everybody's best shot.
Yeah, very fair. But yeah, I would agree that Patrick Mahomes hasn't looked like Patrick Mahomes in some cases throughout the season. But yeah, this was an opportunity for the Vikings, and they had the opportunity. It was right in their hands. Just couldn't get the job done today.
Rinse and repeat from week one.
Yep.
The very first play of the game for the Minnesota Vikings. Nice pickup for Josh Oliver. And then he fumbles the ball. And what do the Chiefs do? They turn that turnover into points. And that's been the story for the Minnesota Vikings as we talk about another one-score loss. Yet so many times through this season, through 5 weeks of the season, they've turned the ball over. And then the other team went down and scored. And then we're talking about them losing by one score. It's painful. In the locker room after the game, no emotion on these players' faces when we walked in. A lot of guys leaving before the cameras even stepped foot in the locker room. And I asked one player, how do you regroup? How do you mentally recharge and focus up for the next week? He just dropped his head and he said, it's part of the business, bro. That's just the job, and that's what we have to do. It's tough. Everyone's feeling it right now, Pierre.
Especially when you lose 4 of your first 5 games. And, man, you have the defending champs in your house, and you fumble on the first play of the game. And that just has got to be a demoralizing feeling because you can't waste possessions against a team like Kansas City. You cannot waste possessions, and you wasted it on the first play of the game. Yeah. Now, Josh Oliver, even though I've been on record on this podcast saying that I don't think that move, that acquisition, I should say, was absolutely necessary for this team. But, however, Josh Oliver has been a pretty good player this year for Minnesota. Just an unfortunate moment for him in the opening drive of the game. That sends Kansas City back down the other way. They make the Vikings pay, go up 7-0 immediately. Now, that was the only turnover of the game, so that's something you can absolutely recover from. I don't think that was the reason why they lost the game by any means, but you can't give Kansas City opportunities. And like we alluded to, Kansas City right now doesn't look unbeatable. They don't look like world beaters. They don't look like this team that you just can absolutely not hang with on the football field. So if you give them a free possession like that and they take advantage, then it could prove to be the difference in the ball game, and the Vikings only lost by 7. And what happened? You give away your first possession of the game, you go down 7 immediately. So you put yourself behind the 8 ball before the game even really starts.
And, you know, the defense, you talked about Patrick Mahomes, him not playing his best football, only 266 yards. I say only. He had 41 pass attempts, and he completed the ball 31 times. But you have to be, you know, excited about the Vikings' rush defense. They only allowed 67 yards. But if you go on the other side of the ball for the Vikings in their offense, I believe they had under 80 yards rushing again this season, 70 yards.
On how many carries?
On
Less
18
than 20.
carries, and 3 of those carries came from Kirk Cousins. So between your 3 running backs, they saw a grand total of 14 carries. Look, I'm not putting head coach Kevin O'Connell on the hot seat, but you have to do better, and you have to give yourself a chance to win. And I understand you're like, look, we can't run the ball successfully, so why are we going to do it and have to play from behind the downs? But look, man, Kirk's getting drilled all the time. You guys aren't playing Dalton Risner. You're continuing to play Ezra Cleveland and Ed Ingram. And I know offensive line is not to blame. They are at times. They do have their up and down moments, but they're not going to be perfect every single time. But head coach Kevin O'Connell has to do a better job of protecting Kirk Cousins and giving this team a chance to win late in the game. The run game was a non-factor at the end of the game.
Again.
Per usual. And it's like you have Cam Akers who, when he gets in the game, he has this burst. But he's not getting any carries. It's like, what are we doing?
Every time I look at a box score, box scores don't tell the whole story. No. But one story that I always pay attention to is the imbalance between the number of pass attempts and the number of rushing attempts. That always is one of the first things I look for if a team lost. Well, what was your play call? What was the balance in terms of play calling between the pass and the run?
47 passes, 18 rushes.
Yeah, and of course the Vikings were down 14 going into the fourth quarter. So yeah, they had to throw more in the fourth quarter to get themselves back in the game, and they did get themselves back in the game. Alexander Mattison had an absolutely killer drop in the fourth quarter. It looked like he had plenty of daylight ahead of him to possibly tie that game late, and it just went right through his fingers. And Alexander Mattison, try as he might, I don't know. I don't know what to make of this anymore. I really don't, because he's not getting the job done on the ground. He did catch a touchdown pass today. I think he's a productive player, but he's a productive player when you put him in the right situations. He's not an every down back. The Vikings don't have an every down back on their roster right now. I'm not sure how much that would help at this point. I think it would, like Ahmad alluded to, I think it would help alleviate some of the pressure off Kirk Cousins if you had the every down type back to try to run the ball. Garrett Bradbury comes out of the game again today with an injury. So it's the inconsistencies and the inability to get the job done. 6 of 14 on third down today, although they were 4 or 5 on fourth down. So you're right there. You're right there. It's the flip of the script from last year. You're winning all these one-score games last year. You are now losing all these one-score games this year. And a lot of people during the offseason talked about that very factor, about how they thought that would catch up to the Vikings. And so far in the first 5 weeks, it has.
Alexander Mattison said that after the game. He was the first one to admit. He said that screen pass. I got to have it.
It was a killer.
He was like, I got to have it. He's like, I catch that, I'm probably scoring a touchdown.
A killer.
He said every week, the most frustrating thing is they're right there. And he was like, you can't pinpoint one specific area. He said, because if that was the case, it would be easy to address.
That's how I feel. Yeah. That's how I feel when I'm talking about this team.
Exactly. And he said, it's just those one plays. And he said, when he broke it down to me, he said, it's like, all right, you need all the 11 guys on the same page in order to be successful. He said, there are just moments where you say, hey, there's one guy who we have to block so they can't make this play. And he said, 10 people will do their job. And it just so happens to be that one guy. Now, he's not pointing any fingers, and he's not saying, hey, this guy needs to better, offensive line needs to improve. He actually said the offensive line did a wonderful job. Whenever
on that play, they did, yes.
Yeah, so whenever, he is rushing the ball. So he gave a huge shout-out to them, but he just said it's all boiling down to 1, 2, or 3 plays in a game where they just have to, kind of just come together as a unit and just say, we're not going to let these plays affect us and cost us.
I think one thing that we need to address, I know the fans I'm sure would love for us to address, is the officiating in today's game. And I think there are a couple of moments in particular that we have to point out. We'll get to the fourth quarter in just a second. The final Kansas City drive of the first half, the catch by Justin Watson.
84, yep.
The catch by Justin Watson that was reviewed and deemed a catch. You were at the game. I was here watching on TV. We saw multiple angles of it. I was under the impression that left toe came up as the catch was made. The right toe appeared to drag, but the left toe looked up. So I was under the assumption. I actually didn't even look back over the TV because I assumed that was going to be ruled incomplete. When they came out of the commercial break and it was ruled a catch, I was stunned. I was stunned. I would have to take another look at it. I'll have to admit, I need to take another look at it. But I was shocked that was ruled a catch. And because it was ruled a catch, that allowed Kansas City to score a field goal, make it 13-13 at the half. Now in the fourth quarter, the play to Jordan Addison on fourth down, on a 4th and 12, when the Vikings were trying to go in and try to tie the game, flag was thrown.
Yeah.
Upon replay,
they missed the first one and then caught it.
So the flag was thrown. They pick up the flag. Upon replay, I thought that looked like PI to me. I know a lot of people are yelling, about L'Jarius Sneed taking his helmet off and stuff like that. That would have been a dead ball. That's a dead ball foul anyway. That would have been a 1st and 25 for the Chiefs. I mean, that wouldn't have negated that play and given the Vikings another possession. But still, regardless, that's still a flag.
The Chiefs got some help today.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they did.
They did. They got that. We'll start with the Watson catch. From my vantage point, It looked like that toe was down when he first caught the ball. When the ball first hit his hands. Now, if he secured the ball, had complete control of the ball, that I don't know. It's hard to tell from in the press box where we are. We're just looking up at the jumbotron, so the people at home have a better viewpoint. But I think that was a hard call, and I think they probably stuck with the call on the field.
And not a call that kills you.
Yeah,
it's not a call that kills you, but it does put. I mean,
it puts points on the board.
Exactly.
Now, I want to address these plays in the fourth quarter, and I'm gonna play devil's advocate here. I cover the Minnesota Vikings. This is our home team, so I'm going to defend them, of course. So that first one,
you are. You don't.
Yeah,
you don't need. You don't.
I'm gonna defend them on one.
They don't sign your checks.
You're
you don't have to defend them.
Absolutely right about that, and that's why I'm going to be blunt about one of these plays. So the first one on Jordan Addison that they missed, I believe it was on third down or second or third down, where they didn't call an illegal contact, they didn't call a pass interference or anything like that. It was absolutely an illegal contact down the field. Jordan Addison tried to make a play, he tried to come back for the ball, but the referee did not throw the flag. Now on that second one that has everybody up in arms, they called it a pass interference on the field, and then they picked up the flag and they waved it off. Here's my take on it. Well, not only was the ball not catchable for Jordan Addison, he also could not locate the ball in the air. So when you see the replay, you see the ball drop, and he has no idea where the ball is. It's kind of hard to call a defensive back for a pass interference when your own wide receiver isn't going for the ball. So I think in that moment, Jordan Addison needs to be better, and we all know good wide receivers excel in the National Football League by just being a little extra, by just flopping a little bit when the defender touches them. And so in a moment like that, when the defender has his back to the quarterback, he's not looking for the ball. All Jordan Addison has to do is just go through him, make some contact, throw his arms in the air, flop a little bit like LeBron James and the Laker team, and then everybody's like, oh, that's a penalty. So if it's not a pass interference, at worst case scenario, it's a legal contact down the field, and it's an automatic first down. So, yes, the officials do need to be better at the end of the game. There was certainly contact on that play, but I think that's also on Jordan Addison to be a pro and to sell that play. That was on him. The ball was not catchable. So, ultimately, the refs made the right call.
Kirk Cousins was hit as he threw. The ball was not tipped. So, if the ball is tipped, then it can't be a pass interference penalty call. You can't call it. But the ball was not tipped. I think that's where a lot of people have a lot of contention with that play. And let's not forget, the Vikings were facing a 4th and 7 before they had an inexcusable delay game.
Yep, with no timeouts because of poor clock management today.
We could do the entire podcast on the fact that they challenged that Travis Kelce catch, and that cost them their second timeout of the half in the third quarter. That was just I could not believe that the challenge flag was thrown. I know that Kevin O'Connell has a view of it. He's got people in his ear telling him to challenge or to not challenge.
Yeah.
And I don't know who's in his ear telling him to challenge, but whoever was in his ear today needs to get a talking to, because I don't know what they were looking at, because that was a catch. It was a catch, and it was not even close.
It was people in the press box disagreeing with that. Jeff Wald, our digital sports reporter, he's like, that's a bad call.
No, it's not even close.
That's a possession of catch. He had the ball on the ground, 2 hands, and then Joshua Thomas ripped it out. Yeah, that's a catch. Yeah,
his back is on the ground and control the ball. That's a catch. I don't know how anyone could watch that video and buzz down to Kevin O'Connell and say, throw the red flag.
Exactly.
That cost you your second timeout. You're down to 1 timeout, and we're not even in the fourth quarter yet in a 7-point game.
Yeah. And then not to mention, you burn your final timeout when the Chiefs were going to try and get you to jump off sides. You could look at the motion with Kadarius Toney and their lineup, and you knew they were just about to go dummy count. So Kevin O'Connell called a timeout there, and it's like, what are you doing? Because you called the timeout. The Chiefs come on the field and do the same exact thing they were going to do before you burned your timeout. So terrible clock management towards the end of the game. But, Pierre, we have to talk about the secondary. Caleb Evans, dinged up in this game, knee injury. Mekhi Blackman comes in, drops a near pick, And my coach used to always tell me, as a defensive back, when you miss a play like that, when you don't take the ball away from the other team and you give them another opportunity, that's when they go and get points. And that's exactly what happened in this game. So Caleb Evans, you don't know if he's going to come back. But then you talk about Cameron Bynum. Near interception that he just mistimes his jump. If he jumps right on time.
Are you thinking on the 3rd and long?
Yes, on the 50-yard pass for Mahomes to Watson.
That drive resulted in your 3rd and 18.
And
You're looking at getting forcing Kansas City to punt the ball back, getting it back in great field position.
Exactly.
Now they're out to midfield. They finish that drive with a touchdown.
And not to mention on the touchdown to Travis Kelce, I don't know what in the world the Vikings were doing, but how do you lose sight of number 87? And I'm sorry, I'm going in football lingo here. Pierre, stay with me if you can. But when you have a bunch set right there, you just know that last guy, he's on a delay. He's just waiting for everybody to clear out right, clear out left, and then I'm just going to go sit right here in the middle and go find that little sweet spot. And as a secondary, how do you not know where 87 is? That's so frustrating. Sorry for banging the table for those people at home. But, I mean, it's just like, as a former defensive back, I'm watching that play, and it's just like, there's no excuse. You can let anybody beat you other than Taylor Swift's boyfriend.
That's right. That's right. I would need to watch this game again, and I'm probably going to watch it again tomorrow. I thought when Mekhi came in, I thought he looked okay at times. I thought he looked okay at times. I think I saw enough there to where I'm thinking, oh, you know what? There's something to build off here with Mekhi. But forgive me for all of you listening who probably saw a different game and thought he was absolute trash and thinking I'm an idiot. But let me watch the game one more time because we're doing a lot as the game is going on. But this to me, this loss, this is what makes it all the more frustrating. Not everybody was giving Minnesota much of a chance going into this game. I think, as fans do when you look at the schedule, especially when the schedule comes out earlier in the year and you say, oh, well, that's going to be a loss. But it's 27-20 with plenty of time left in the fourth quarter.
With no Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, who does get, he did. Justin Jefferson does get hurt in this game. We'll have to monitor that as the week goes on. Kevin O'Connell said it was a hamstring issue.
Didn't seem too serious.
After the game.
Limp wasn't that bad in the locker room.
You better hope it's not that bad. You absolutely better hope it's not that bad. But this is more torture to me if I'm sitting here being a Vikings fan thinking, well, if we got blown out 40-10 today, whatever.
It's easier to accept.
Yeah. But it's 27-20 in the fourth quarter, and you force the Chiefs to punt. You get the ball back.
Right.
You're getting the ball back with a chance to tie the game.
Right.
You're moving downfield. You're right there. And like we just mentioned with Alexander Madison, we're right there. And
every week.
That's what we hear every week. We're right there. If we don't do this, if we just don't do that, if we just do this, we'll put it all together. And now with Detroit winning today, you're a full 3 games back of Detroit in the division after only 5 games. So now you've got even more ground that you have to make up. You get a little bit of a break in the schedule. Well, I say that now. I call it a break. I probably shouldn't, but you have a little bit of a break in the schedule when you go to Chicago to take on the rejuvenized Chicago Bears.
That's going to be a competitive game.
Yeah, it is absolutely going to be a competitive game.
Unfortunately,
I mean,
that's going to be competitive.
I'm already looking at Chicago as a home divisional dog, and I love a home divisional dog. So,
oh, Lord. I was going to try and find some optimism for the rest of this podcast.
Yeah, and I think I think we can. If Justin Jefferson is hurt and can't play next week, I don't know what kind of optimism I'm here to offer Vikings fans.
Well, Kirk Cousins did say that Jordan Addison is the real deal. They hit a home run with that draft pick. He said he is a bona fide ball player. But my problem with Jordan Addison is –
I'm not ready to go there yet, by the way.
Me neither. But I think the problem with him is, can he withstand the double-team coverages like Justin Jefferson is? Can he get off the line of scrimmage when somebody is pressing him? He's small.
He's small.
He's very, very tiny. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's way too soon to be just putting all of Jefferson's workload onto Jordan Addison and saying, here, you're at number 1 now. Yeah. No, it's going to be a group decision now.
And if he goes up against a physical corner, he's going to jam him at the line. And that's my question with Jordan Addison is, can he fight through contact to finish off his route? That to me is a concern when I think about Jordan Addison. Because with all the attention being paid over to Justin Jefferson over here, that opens things up for him. Now, if he's going to be your wide receiver 1 on a weekly not on a weekly basis, but this Sunday
in the interim,
that makes me feel a little bit nervous because I don't know how well he could fight through contact.
Right.
So that makes me a little nervous. Maybe he proves us wrong. Maybe.
Hopefully he does.
Maybe. And maybe we won't have to worry about this problem because Justin Jefferson, fights through the injury and plays on Sunday.
Knocking on wood.
But I have my doubts in that specific situation with Jordan Addison.
I have my doubts, but we'll have to put a bow on this. We'll have to come to an end and reach a conclusion here. Right now, the Vikings are 1-4. They're headed to Chicago for a divisional game next week, and a lot of players said in the locker room they're frustrated, they're disappointed, but they have division play in front of them, and they said everything that they want to accomplish is still obtainable, and it starts with a division win this week versus the Bears. Your thoughts on that?
I think it's absolutely a winnable game. I think it's a game that the Vikings, with a healthy Justin Jefferson, that's a big point. With a healthy Justin Jefferson, I think that's a game the Vikings should win. Okay. Second straight game we've seen Marcus Davenport. Second straight game we've seen a sack from Marcus Davenport. Danielle Hunter with another sack today. The edges starting to come around. I mean, Danielle Hunter has been a consistent presence all season long, but with Marcus Davenport on the opposite side now, that starts to open things up a little bit more defensively for Minnesota.
For sure.
So I like Minnesota in that game next week. I think the Vikings should win that game. And then I like it's like
no, we're not talking about the next game after that. No, no. We're not going there.
It's hard.
We're not going there. We're gonna be like the team.
I think the Vikings should win that game in Chicago. They have better talent. I think they have better coaching overall. That's a game that Minnesota has to have. Yeah. Has to have.
I will say that it is a must-win game.
Yes,
absolutely a must-win game.
Where's Jim?
I know we need Jim Rich. Must-wins, right? Must-wins, right? But here's my take on that. The secondary is going to have a long night. I know Justin Fields is not the best quarterback, but DJ Moore is a solid wide receiver. And right now they are finding ways to get him the football and to make him a big piece of their offensive unit moving forward. So if a Caleb Evans is not back, Mekhi Blackman, Byron Murphy Jr., you guys better buckle up your seatbelts because DJ Moore is coming for you. Yeah. And that's going to be a big task for them, especially with Chicago not being able to run the game. And we talk about how Patrick Mahomes was able to extend plays today. Well, that's something Justin Fields is going to be able to do next week.
You better believe it.
So Marcus Davenport, Danielle Hunter, they're going to have their hands full next week.
Listen, I'm a big fan of Justin Fields. I would definitely take him on my team. I know that he's not without his flaws, but Justin Fields is a guy that absolutely, I think that you hit it on the head. The ability to extend plays, the ability on a 3rd and 11 when you've got great coverage, but he's got time, and then he just breaks free out of that pocket. There's nothing you can do. It's so frustrating when you're going up against quarterbacks like that because you do everything right, especially as a member of the secondary and a linebacker. You're doing everything right, but there's just an extra second and a daylight opens for him, and he's gone. It's so frustrating playing against a quarterback like that. It is so frustrating.
So needless to say, Vikings fans, for those of you listening to us right now, do not pencil Minnesota in for a guaranteed win next week. We are saying it is a must-win game for them if they hope to have a chance to go to the playoffs and win the NFC North. If not, all of our future podcasts may be talking about Mr. Williams from USC.
Yeah, it very well could be. And, the trade deadline is at the end of October. That's something that Minnesota's going to need to keep their eye on, whether they're buyers or sellers. We don't know that just yet.
Well, we're not buying or we're not selling anything just yet. We're just covering the team, and we're staying day to day. We're focusing on the week. As PJ Flex says, we're trying to have an elite championship week, and right now we're focused on the Chicago Bears, and that's what the Minnesota Vikings are doing. So right now they are 1-4 as they prepare to start their divisional season. That's Pierre Nugent. I'm Ahmad Hicks. Be sure to give us a follow on YouTube, on fox9.com, and also wherever you get your podcasts, Vikings Now. Rate, subscribe, follow us. Let us know how we can get better, and we'll keep serving you guys. Have a great week.